was that it was partly just the simple fact of organizing. And so I'll just give you an example. Imagine you were making a cookbook. So these are all images that I got from Flickr. So you say, you know what, I want healthy pasta dishes that kind of look good. Well, very quickly you pull up images that are lovely, you put them together, and what you see here is, the screen's maybe a little blurrier, but if you look at it on the screens in back, what you'll see is, I mean, these are beautiful images of kind of healthy food. Now, could Google or an algorithm have made that decision to make those three things look like a collection of meals? Probably not. But I did, and I thought it was a good collection. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make dessert. So dessert, lots of pink, lots of yellow, nice colors, kind of sweet. Put it together. So now I've got 2 pages of my cookbook. Now, let's take those same images, and let's search on the word food and photo and put together some tags and spin up a page that looks like this. Now, same collection of images, organized differently, goes from looking delicious and lovely to kind of disgusting, right? Well, very hard for an algorithm to be able to tell the difference between delicious and disgusting. Very easy for you. One other example, and why I would argue that search doesn't solve our problem. If you type into, back to Google image search again, the word cat, you'll find this image. Now, this image is profoundly disturbing, and it should be curated out immediately. And by the way, you know the problem with that is that that's the one image you're going to remember from this entire presentation is the guy with the belly button cat. Sorry about that. We like to throw in this idea content is king. We throw it around a lot. But the reality is, and I will say this to some of my writer friends, and this will make me a bit of a heretic, but content is no longer king. Curation is now king. And one could make an argument that curation's been king for a very long time. Because the actual making of stuff is not nearly as hard as the organizing, shaping, publishing, presenting of stuff. And I say that knowing that I'm getting myself into some amount of trouble, but I think I can work my way out of it if you give me a second. Here are the rules of curation, and the rules that I think matter for us today. You know, I spoke a little more than a year ago at South by Southwest, and I gave a talk called Curationism versus Creationism. And I expected there to be 12, it was in one of the hotels off the main convention floor, and I expected there to be 12 people there. The room was sold out, and it was like a barroom brawl. Like I had to keep people apart. And on one side of the room were the creators who were basically like pitchforks and torches, where you're not coming after our content, we're going to protect it, and we're going to die wholly on it. And the other side were the curators who were basically like, information deserves to be free, and we're going to take your stuff and we're going to organize it. And it was really, I have to say, a little frightening. And I didn't quite understand that I walked into this kind of philosophical battle. A year later, 12 months later, I'm back at South by Southwest, and there are 140 people that I'm talking to as part of a group, and I say to each one of them, not do you curate, but what do you curate? And I ask each person one at a time, what do you curate? And one by one, of the 140, about 137 of them immediately had an answer. I curate children's events in Toronto, Canada. I curate environmental information. And each one of them, and I'm thinking to myself, how crazy is it that in 12 months, this word went from being this kind of dividing line conflict between creators and organizers to this thing that we all kind of have come to accept. And by the way, not inconsequentially, in that same 12 months, the iPad was born and is now a fixture in life as, as a data platform. Does everyone know that the iPad is literally 1 year old, I think 2 days ago? I mean, stunning, right? So in a world of infinite data construction, and in which we all make data all day long, the ability to find the things that matter really count. And I'm going to give you kind of 3 steps to do it. And my guess is that some of you do this already. Collect, invite contributions, and create content are the 3 kind of mixed filters that come together. And what I mean by that is, on any given day, you make some data. You write a blog post, you put out something on Tumblr, you check how many people checked in here. You're creating some data that says to the world, I exist, this is what I'm doing, this is what's interesting to me. The next thing you do is you retweet something. And this is interesting, and I'm going to ask you to just think about this for a second. When you retweet something, don't you for a moment, before you click the button, maybe it's a microsecond, think, do I want to wear this data? Like, is this information that I want associated with me? Because the truth is that retweet is an absolute expression of what interests you, what you believe in, what you want to share. And that action of retweeting is a powerful curatorial instinct. And there's a chapter in the book called The Accidental Curator. And my proposal is that we're all doing it already. We're doing it in all kinds of ways, and we will. And younger people, frankly, are doing it way more than we are. I mean, how many people in this room have a Tumblr page? Right. So, you know, in a room of college students, that would be diametrically different. I mean, Tumblr is far more powerful with a younger set because they curate, because that's what they do. All day long, they find things and link things. And then this last thing is collect. And what I mean by that is, you all have a social network. You're all reading, you know, things on Facebook, and you're using that like button very powerfully to say, here's something that, you know, my friend Joe found, and I've looked at it, and I'm going to recommend it to my network. And the network effect of the like button or of the retweet is the third piece of the curatorial mix. Very powerful and very important. Let me just spend a second, because I was asked to talk for a second about Google and the +1 button. You know, I applaud them for trying, and I think that it's not impossible that it will be successful, but I'm stunned at how many times Google will say in a week, in either an interview or a press release through one of its executives, well, we think the social signal is important. And you know, with all due respect, I don't think of my friends as the social signal. You know, I think of them as my friends. They mean a lot to me. And what they recommend to me is really powerful. And so, you know, the idea that I can kind of dismiss them as, you know, well, you know, it's just another piece of data. It's like, you know, when my brother says to me, this is a book I want you to read, you know, I don't mix that into an algorithm. That's my brother. And part of what I think is an interesting opportunity for all of you and for us collectively is the filtering of data, the ability to kind of rank and organize material. We're at day one of a software revolution in which people get to say, here are the things that matter to me. Here's the information sources that I want to rank very highly. So for example, you know, whenever Dale tells me about, you know, a great conference he's going to, I want to know about that. You know, when he tells me about a hotel he's staying in Miami, maybe not so much. You know, whatever the balance is, I want to be able to filter things differently. So I want to be able to take a few minutes to talk about curation with you, so I'm just going to wrap up the slides. Here's the story about the book. It was written over the course of a year. I thought it was going to be a debate about the future of curation. I interviewed 70 people. Two people made the argument that curation was bad. Mark Cuban said that curators are vampires, which gave me the opportunity to turn Oprah into a picture of a vampire with fangs, which I was very pleased with. And Andrew Keen said that curators are bad because everything's bad. So those two, and by the way, Mark Cuban has since retracted his curators are vampires speech and now says the only way to beat the curators is to be an Uber curator, like Huffington Post, which he describes as an Uber curator. So I consider him a convert. So the book was a journey. It's all kinds of people that you know and love. They're super smart, and my job, really more than author, was curator. I mean, I listened to a lot of people and tried to thread it into a logical story. And you know, what I tell rooms like this is, you know, you can buy it on Amazon for $14 and you have a money-back guarantee. So if you want to just find me and say your book was crap, I'll give you $20 back. With that, let's just spend a minute on some questions about curation. So you want to pass the mic, and happy to chat about it. And by the way, I'd love to hear examples of curators in the audience, because I have a feeling there are more than a few. Curation questions? Right here.
So what's the difference between a curator and an editor?
Excellent question. Huge difference between a curator and an editor. So editors, historically, are the people that either contract or receive professional material from a single source or from a professional source and then make it better. Fact check it, organize it. They don't sign their work, as a general matter, of course. They're not creators. They're the filter through which things go to a publishing, right. Curators, on the other hand, are creating things that are often wholly new. So think of them more like a DJ or a remixer. I mean, if you're curating a collection of material about we media. If you are curating the tweets that come out of this day, your curatorial view of this conversation will be totally different than this person's over here. And so you're going to sign your work. You're going to be authoring some amount of it yourself, generally, although it's possible to be a curator without being an author. But it is a creative output as opposed to a fully organizational output.
To push back for a second on you, and I'm sure you have this response ready. I don't think that your Google image example is I feel it's not the fairest example, because sure, I know Google Images isn't great for search, but Google News and Google Web is amazing. So why did you choose that slice of Google? But more importantly, why is that search is dead such an important part of your Curation Nation thesis?
Okay, so fair question. First of all, you're right, it's a low blow because image search is terrible, but they've delivered it as a product, and there's no warning at the top that says, by the way, we don't expect this to work very well. But I'll ask the question of the crowd. How many people would say in this room that in the last 6 months, the general results that they've gotten from Google search seemed less relevant and harder to find what matters?
Than what?
What? Than 6 months ago. Than 6 months ago. Okay, hold on. Yeah. And it's weird stuff, too. It's like all of a sudden they're delivering 2-year-old data from a forum about something I'm trying to get an answer of software. All right, so the answer is, and by the way, here's why it makes sense. I could have given you the technical answer, but it's impossible for Google to know in real time if a tweet is relevant or not. It's impossible, because by the time they figure out who you are and where it came from, and it's gone. I mean, real-time data is really puzzling stuff. It's exciting as all hell, but it's really puzzling stuff. So that's one. And the reason why search is dead as a thesis statement is, my technical friends will tell me, we're just in a moment in time where the algorithm hasn't caught up to the data flow. We're going to get it right. We're going to keep, if we could look at all your email and all your location data and everything you were thinking and everything you ever bought, if we could have complete access to your life, we could answer every question for you. And my answer to that is, a year ago, I went to buy a phone system for my company. And I now, every damn search I do, one way or another, there's an ad for a phone system. Well, we bought it 9 months ago. So when I look at the growth of data going like this, and then I look at Google and others struggling to catch up on an old methodology, I just think putting humans back into the mix in a powerful way is a good thesis.
No, actually, that's a good last one.
That's it? Great.
That's a perfect
Thank you all
last
very, very much. Curation Nation is on Amazon. You can download it, and it's Curation Nation.